I never thought I'd find myself in this situation. My name is Jake, and I'm a 35-year-old graphic designer living in a suburb of Denver with my wife, Sarah, who's 2 years younger than me. We've been married for 8 years, and for the most part, things were pretty good. Sure, we had our ups and downs, but what relationship does? We had built a life together, shared memories, laughter, and yes, even the occasional argument about whose turn it was to take out the trash. It was normal, or at least I thought it was. But over the last few months, I noticed things beginning to change. Sarah's behavior shifted subtly but unnervingly. She was more distant, often glued to her phone, and her once vibrant enthusiasm for our weekend hikes had fizzled out. Every time I tried to engage her in conversation, I got one-word responses. Yeah, fine, whatever. A disturbing trend. The intimate moments we shared became infrequent, and I found myself wondering if it was just a phase or something deeper. It all came crashing down one Saturday afternoon. I came home early from work, and as I walked through the door, I heard muffled voices coming from our bedroom. My heart sank. I thought maybe she had a friend over, and the last thing I wanted was to jump to conclusions. But then I heard it, a man's voice, laughing. That laugh echoed in my head, clear as day, and suddenly all the little signs I'd brushed off became glaringly obvious. I was gripped by a mix of dread and disbelief as I tiptoed toward the bedroom. Peeking through the slightly ajar door, I saw Sarah, sprawled on the bed with a younger guy, probably in his late 20s, fit and far too carefree for my comfort. They were laughing together, and in that moment it felt like my heart had been ripped out of my chest. I had seen enough. Panic and rage surged through me like a tidal wave. I slammed the door open and they both jumped. "What the hell is going on here?" I demanded, my voice rough and strained. Sarah's face went pale, her mouth agape as if struggling to find words. The guy bolted upright, clearly caught off guard. I felt like I was in a movie, a bad one at that, where the protagonist discovers the worst betrayal imaginable. "Jake, it's not what it looks like." Sarah stammered, her eyes wide with shock. I couldn't believe her audacity to use that line. It was exactly what it looked like. She was sprawled on the bed with some random dude, and her first instinct was to lie. I felt anger bubbling just beneath the surface, threatening to explode. "Oh, really? Then what is it? You two just sharing a laugh?" My voice dripped with sarcasm. I was boiling over, but part of me was still trying to wrap my mind around the reality of the situation. "You're cheating on me, after everything we've built together." She scrambled off the bed, her face a mixture of fear and defiance. "I swear it's not like that. We were just talking. You've been distant, Jake. I've felt alone for so long. You never listen." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Instead of owning up to her betrayal, she was twisting this into an accusation against me. She went on, talking about how I'd been neglectful and how she needed someone who would be there for her. It was infuriating. Each excuse was like a dagger, twisting deeper into my gut. I wanted to scream, to shake her and make her see how hurtful her words were, but I knew I needed to keep my composure. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of seeing me lose control. "Do you really think that justifies this?" I spat, indicating the stranger in the room with a wave of my hand. "You think I've been neglectful, that's your excuse for this?" "Jake, please, just let me explain." She pleaded, her voice rising into a panic, but I was done listening. I felt a mix of emotions, betrayal, anger, and an overwhelming sense of sadness. The woman I had trusted, loved, and built a life with was standing in front of me, and she was not the person I thought she was. I stepped back, allowing the gravity of the situation to settle in my chest. This was it. This was the brutal reality of my life now. I turned and walked out of the room, leaving Sarah and her lover staring after me. This was the beginning of a long and tumultuous journey, one that would lead me to make decisions I never thought I would have to make. I felt lost but knew I had to confront the reality of my crumbling marriage. As I sat on the couch, my mind racing, I resolved that I wouldn't just be a victim in this story. I needed to figure out how to respond, how to regain control of my life, and how to move forward from the betrayal that had shattered my world. The sound of Sarah's laughter with that guy still echoed in my mind, a haunting reminder of what I had just witnessed. I sat on the couch, staring blankly at the wall, replaying the moment in my head. I was engulfed in a storm of emotion, rage, confusion, and an overwhelming sense of betrayal. How could she do this to me, to us? I felt like I was in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. It took a few minutes for the adrenaline to subside. I needed to gather my thoughts. In my gut, I knew I had to confront her again, but this time it would be on my terms. I could feel the anger bubbling up again, but I had to stay calm. I needed to think strategically. I did. Want to lash out blindly. I wanted to ensure that my response would hit home, that it would make her reconsider her choices. After what felt like an eternity, I got up and walked back toward the bedroom. The door was closed now, and I could hear muffled voices inside. I took a deep breath, steadied myself, and knocked sharply. The door swung open, and I found Sarah standing there, her expression a mix of anxiety and defiance. "Jake, we need to talk," she said, her voice shaky. "Talk?" I replied, my tone cold and measured. "You mean you need to explain how you just betrayed your husband?" She opened her mouth to respond, but I cut her off. "No, save it. I don't want to hear your excuses. I want you to understand how serious this is." Her eyes flashed with anger. "You don't get to talk to me like that. You're the one who's been distant. I've tried to reach out to you, but you were too busy with your work. Trying to pin this on me won't work," I shot back. "You chose to have an affair you didn't care about the consequences, did you?" I could see her fighting to maintain her composure. "I was lonely, Jake, and he listens to me. We connected in a way you and I haven't in a long time." "Wow," I said, incredulity washing over me. "So because I've been focused on work, you think it's okay to jump into bed with some younger guy?" "Yes, I mean no, it's not like that." Her voice cracked. "I didn't plan for this to happen, it just did." "So what? I should just forgive you because you weren't planning it." I could feel the heat rising in my chest. "You think this is justifiable?" "I didn't mean to hurt you, Jake. I never wanted to hurt you." "That's the thing, Sarah. You didn't think at all. You acted on impulse without considering the damage you were doing to our marriage." I could see her face soften for a moment, the realization of the gravity of her choices washing over her. But then she steeled herself again, crossing her arms defensively. "You don't understand. You don't know how it felt for me. Enlighten me," I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "Tell me how it feels to betray someone you've promised to love for better or worse." "Jake, please don't do this," she said, her voice pleading. "I want to fix this. We can work through it." I shook my head, feeling a deep sadness infiltrate my heart. "How do you expect me to trust you again? You let someone else into our bed, into our home, while I thought everything was fine." Her eyes filled with tears, and I could see she was genuinely remorseful, but that didn't change what had happened. "I love you, Jake, I do. I made a mistake, a huge one. Can't we start over?" I took a deep breath, trying to keep my emotions in check. "You can't just erase what happened, Sarah. You made a choice, and now I have to make one too." She stepped closer, reaching for my arm. "Please, I'm begging you, don't throw everything away over a mistake. We can make this work, I swear. I'll do whatever it takes." Her touch sent a shiver down my spine, but it was no longer the comforting warmth once cherished. It felt like a reminder of everything that had fallen apart between us. I suddenly felt exhausted, a weight bearing down on my shoulders. "Do you even realize how much this hurts me?" I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "You've shattered my trust, Sarah. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again." The tears streamed down her face, and for a fleeting moment I felt a pang of sympathy, but it quickly turned back into bitterness. "I don't want to lose you, Jake. You're my whole life." "I thought I was your whole life too," I said, feeling a knot form in my stomach, "but your actions say otherwise." It was at that moment that I understood I couldn't just react in the heat of the moment. I needed to step back and consider my options. As much as it hurt, I realized that I had to think about what I wanted moving forward. Did I want to try and salvage our marriage, or was it time to close that chapter for good? As I stepped back, the realization weighed on me. I needed a plan. I had to find a way to regain control of my life and my emotions, whatever that may entail. This wasn't just about Sarah and her betrayal. It was about me and what I wanted. The road ahead was uncertain, but I knew one thing for sure: I wouldn't be the victim anymore. The confrontation felt like it had shifted the ground beneath me, leaving me standing on shaky terrain. I needed to process everything. what had happened, what Sarah had done, and how it impacted not just our marriage but my own sense of self. I could feel the ripples of betrayal flowing through me, and while part of me craved a resolution, another part wanted to retreat and gather strength. After our heated exchange, I needed space. I grabbed my jacket and headed out, not entirely sure where I would go. I drove aimlessly around Denver, letting my thoughts tumble over one another like a chaotic tumbleweed. The city was alive around me, but I felt completely detached. How could someone I loved so deeply betray me in such a profound way? It was a question I couldn't shake. I found myself pulled toward a local bar, place I used to frequent with friends before life became consumed by work and the responsibilities of marriage. I parked my car and walked inside, the familiar scent of beer and fried food washing over me like a wave of nostalgia. The place was dimly lit, and I slid onto a bar stool, ordering a whiskey, my first of the night. As I sat there, nursing my drink, I couldn't help but overhear conversations around me. Couples laughing, friends reminiscing, and people simply enjoying each other's company. It made the emptiness within me feel even more pronounced. I picked up my phone, scrolling through my contacts, but the thought of reaching out to anyone made my stomach turn. I didn't want to be that guy, the one who spills his heart out about his wife's infidelity. I wasn't ready for pity or unsolicited advice. Then my phone buzzed. It was a message from Sarah. "Jake, please let's talk. I'm so sorry, I miss you." My heart sank. Did she really think that a simple apology could fix this? I put my phone down, shaking my head. I wasn't ready to respond. I needed time to think. After a few more drinks, the haze of alcohol began to dull the pain. I watched the world around me, feeling a mix of envy and despair. I recalled the laughter and love Sarah and I had shared, the memories that now felt tainted. I knew I had to confront the reality of our relationship. I needed to make a decision, but I didn't know where to start. The next day, I woke up with a throbbing headache and the remnants of last night's alcohol still clinging to my senses. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the wall. Sarah was still in the apartment and I could hear her moving around in the kitchen. It was time to address the elephant in the room once and for all. I found her sitting at the kitchen table, a steaming cup of coffee in front of her. Her eyes were puffy and red, the aftermath of a restless night. She looked up as I entered and I could see the hope flicker in her gaze. "Jake," she said softly, "I'm glad you're here." "Let's talk," I said, pulling out a chair and sitting down across from her. "I need to know why this happened." "I told you I felt alone," she said, her voice trembling. "You've been so focused on work and I felt like I was losing you. I made a horrible mistake and I regret it every second." "Regret doesn't erase what you did," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "You didn't just slip up. You made a choice. You chose him over me, over us." "I know," she exclaimed, tears brimming in her eyes. "I didn't think it would go this far. I was just looking for someone to talk to, someone who would listen. I thought I could handle it. I never wanted to hurt you." "But you did," I said, emphasizing every word. "You crossed a line that can't just be redrawn with a heartfelt apology. I need to know if you truly understand the weight of your actions." "I do, I promise I do. I was an idiot, Jake. I let my insecurities take over and I messed everything up. I want to fix this. I'll do whatever it takes." "Whatever it takes, like how?" I leaned forward, watching her closely. "What are you willing to give up? I need to know that you understand this isn't just going to go away just because you want it to." "I'll cut him off completely. I swear, I'll go to therapy, I'll be more present, I'll do anything you need me to do." Her voice was desperate and I could see she was genuinely scared of losing me. "Therapy?" I raised an eyebrow. "You think that's going to magically fix everything? How do I know you won't just fall back into old habits?" I swear to you. I just need another chance." I studied her face, searching for any hint of deceit, any trace of the woman I once knew, but all I saw was fear and desperation. I felt a pang of sympathy but also a rising tide of anger. "You've broken my trust, Sarah. I can't just give you a free pass to start over." As I spoke, I felt a decision brewing within me, a choice that would define the next chapter of my life. "You need to understand that I can't just pretend everything is okay. I need time and I need space to process this." "Time, space," she echoed, looking crushed. "You're not leaving me, are you?" "I don't want to make any rash decisions right now," I replied. But I can't keep living like this, pretending everything is fine when it's not. I need to figure out what I want. The gravity of my words hung in the air like a dense fog. I could see the devastation in her eyes, but I was also becoming acutely aware that I had to prioritize my own well-being. I stood up, needing to put some distance between us. I'm going to stay with my friend for a while. I need to think. Please don't try to contact me until I'm ready. With that, I turned and walked out, leaving Sarah behind, the weight of our shattered marriage hanging heavy in the silence. The future felt uncertain, but I knew deep down that I had to take control of my life, whatever that meant. It was time to take a step back and reassess what I truly wanted, and it was going to be a long road ahead. Staying with my friend Mark was a relief. He had always been the kind of guy who could make me laugh, who would listen without judgment, and who could provide a much-needed distraction. Mark lived in a small apartment downtown, and it felt good to be away from the memories that weighed heavily on my mind. I needed a break from everything, Sarah, our home, and the reality of what had just happened. As I settled into Mark's couch, I realized how much I needed this time to think. I recounted the events of the last few days, the confrontation, the betrayal, and Sarah's desperate pleas for forgiveness. Each memory felt like a knife twisting in my gut, and yet there was a part of me that clung to the idea of reconciliation. I loved her after all, didn't I? But love was supposed to be built on trust, and that trust had been shattered. Mark noticed my turmoil almost immediately. He had always been perceptive, and after a few drinks and a long conversation about life and relationships, he leaned in and asked the question I had been dreading. "So, what are you going to do, man? Are you going to take her back?" I took a deep breath, the weight of the question hanging heavily in the air. "Honestly, I don't know. Part of me wants to make it work. We've invested so much into our life together." But then I trailed off, running a hand through my hair. "How can I trust her again? How do I know it won't happen again?" Mark nodded, clearly understanding my conflict. "You have to do what's best for you, Jake. It's great that she wants to change, but it takes two to make a relationship work. If you can't trust her, you're just setting yourself up for more heartbreak." His words resonated with me, but the thought of leaving Sarah was painful. I envisioned our life together, the happy moments, the trips we took, and the dreams we shared. I felt like I was standing at a crossroads, and each path presented its own set of challenges. If I chose to forgive her, would I always be looking over my shoulder, waiting for the next betrayal? But if I chose to walk away, would I regret not fighting for our love? For the next few days, I stayed with Mark, trying to clear my head. I found myself scrolling through social media, seeing pictures of happy couples and seemingly perfect lives. It only deepened my sense of loss. Everyone else seemed to have it figured out while I felt like I was drowning in uncertainty. Then one evening I received a text from Sarah. "I'm sorry, I miss you. I know I messed up and I'll give you all the space you need. I just want you to know that I love you." Her words struck a chord. Love. It was a powerful word, one that used to mean everything to us. But now it felt tainted, twisted by betrayal. I stared at the screen, my heart aching. "I love you" had always been the foundation of our relationship, but it was hard to reconcile those feelings with what she had done. I took a moment to process her message before responding. "I need more time to think, Sarah. I can't just forget what happened. Please respect that." The instant I hit send, I felt a wave of mixed emotions, guilt for leaving her hanging, but also relief that I had stood my ground. I knew I had to stick to my decision, to take time for myself, to sort through my feelings without the weight of her expectations. That night, Mark and I went out to grab some dinner. As we walked through the bustling streets, I felt a sense of calm wash over me. I realized how important it was to have people around me who understood my pain and supported me through this mess. When we returned to his apartment, I decided to take a leap of faith, one that didn't involve Sarah for now. "Mark, I think I need to do something for myself," I said, my voice steady. "I've been too focused on what's been happening with Sarah, and it's time I put some energy into my own happiness." "Sounds like a plan, man. What do you have in mind?" "I don't know yet," I admitted, looking out the window, "but I think I need to start focusing on what I want. Maybe pick up an old hobby, travel somewhere, or even just learn to enjoy my own company again." Mark smiled. "That's the spirit. You deserve to find joy in your life, regardless of what's happening with her. The next few weeks passed in a blur of self-discovery. I began to reconnect with old friends, took up painting again, and even signed up for a weekend hiking trip with some guys from work. I felt like I was slowly reclaiming a piece of myself that had been buried beneath the weight of my marriage. As I delved deeper into my own interests, I began to see things from a different perspective. Yes, I had loved Sarah deeply, but I had also lost sight of who I was in the process. I had devoted so much energy to our relationship that I had neglected my own passions and desires. It was an eye-opening realization. Then one day, as I was painting in a local art studio, I received another message from Sarah. "I hope you're doing okay. I miss you. Can we talk?" This time, instead of instantly responding, I took a moment to think. I had been enjoying my newfound independence and had started to reclaim my identity. Did I want to invite the chaos back into my life? I decided to take a step back and really consider what I wanted from this conversation. I owed it to myself to approach this situation with clarity and purpose, not just emotion. I knew that whatever answer I came to would not just define my relationship with Sarah, but also my own path forward, whatever that may be. After a few days of contemplation, I finally decided to respond to Sarah's message. "I'm doing okay. I've been busy focusing on myself. I'm willing to talk, but I want to set some ground rules." Her reply came quickly. "Of course, I'll do anything. Just tell me when and where." I suggested we meet at a coffee shop halfway between my place and hers. It felt neutral and public, a safe space where we could have an honest conversation without the emotional weight of home. As the day approached, I felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. I wasn't sure what would come from this meeting, but I knew it was the next step I needed to take. When I walked into the coffee shop, I spotted Sarah sitting at a corner table, nervously stirring her drink. She looked different. Perhaps it was the absence of makeup or the way her hair fell loosely around her face, but she appeared more vulnerable than I remembered. I hesitated for a moment before walking over, my heart pounding in my chest. "Hey," I said, forcing a small smile as I slid into the chair opposite her. "Hey," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you for meeting with me." I nodded, trying to gauge her mood. "I wanted to talk because we need to address what happened. We can't just gloss over it." "Agreed," she said, looking down at her hands. "I've spent a lot of time thinking about everything. I know I messed up. I'm so sorry, Jake." Can't say that enough. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of what lay ahead. "I appreciate your apology, but it's going to take more than words to rebuild what we had. Trust has to be earned back." "Absolutely. I understand that. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to show you I'm serious about fixing this." "Let's lay everything on the table," I said, my tone firm. "What were you looking for with him? What did you feel you were missing with me?" Her eyes filled with tears and she bit her lip. "I wanted someone who would listen. I felt neglected, and while that doesn't justify my actions, I was searching for validation. I was caught up in my own insecurities and didn't know how to reach out to you properly." "Do you think that's something we can work on together?" I asked, leaning forward. "I mean, I've been consumed by work and I can see how that pushed you away, but I need to feel like you're also committed to changing and understanding your role in all this." "I am," she said, her voice stronger now. "I want to go to couples therapy. I want to learn how to communicate better. I want to be better for you and for us." Hearing her express a desire for change was a start, but I was still hesitant. Therapy is a good step, but it's a process. There are no guarantees that it'll fix everything overnight. "I know that," she replied, nodding vigorously. "I'm willing to put in the effort. I can't lose you, Jake. You mean everything to me." As I listened to her, I felt a glimmer of hope amidst the pain. Maybe there was a possibility for us after all, but I also knew I had to remain cautious. "I want to believe you, but I can't just forget. I need to see actions, not just words. If we're going to work through this, it's going to take time and consistent effort from both of us." "Agreed. I'm ready to prove it to you," she said. "I've cut off all contact with him, and I promise I won't go down that road again. I've learned my lesson the hard way." It was a relief to hear her say that, but I couldn't shake the nagging doubts that still lingered in the back of my mind. "I think we both have a lot of things to work on, individually and together. I need to focus on myself too to ensure I don't lose sight of who I am. I don't want to lose myself in this relationship again." "Absolutely. I want you to do that," she said earnestly. "We can be better. I want us to be better." We continued to talk, discussing the challenges we faced and expressing our feelings about the marriage and the affair. As the conversation progressed, there was a sense of vulnerability that began to seep into the air between us. Each word felt like a tentative step toward rebuilding what was broken, but after a while I felt that familiar tension creeping in. "Sarah, I need you to know that this isn't just going to be easy. Trust isn't something that can be restored overnight. It's built through consistent effort and honesty. I need to know that you're in this for the long haul." "I am. I promise," she insisted, her eyes locked onto mine. "I'll do everything I can to prove that to you." After a lengthy discussion, we reached a tentative understanding. We agreed to try couples therapy and to focus on rebuilding our relationship slowly, one step at a time. As we left the coffee shop, I felt a mix of cautious optimism and lingering skepticism. The road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time since the betrayal, I felt like we were on the same page. It would take time, effort, and a willingness to face the hard truths about ourselves, but perhaps there was hope for us yet. I knew I had to remain vigilant, but I also realized that love sometimes requires a leap of faith, one that I was willing to take, however cautiously it might be. As I walked back to my car, I reflected on how far I had come since I first discovered her affair. I felt stronger, more self-aware, and ready to confront the challenges that lay ahead. This wasn't just about Sarah's betrayal, but also about my own journey of self-discovery. I had a choice to make, and I knew that whatever direction I chose, it would ultimately lead me to a clearer understanding of who I was and what I wanted. The weeks that followed our coffee shop conversation were a whirlwind of emotions, uncertainty, and renewed hope. Sarah and I delved into couples therapy, and I found myself surprised by how much I learned about both her and myself during those sessions. Opening up about our feelings, our insecurities, fears, and desires was daunting but necessary. Each session felt like peeling back another layer of our relationship, exposing vulnerabilities that had long remained hidden. Therapy was hard work. There were moments when anger would flare up and tears were shed, but there were also moments of laughter and genuine connection, moments that reminded me of why I fell in love with her in the first place. It was there that I began to see the depth of her remorse, her struggle to articulate her feelings in a way that I could understand. She was trying, and for the first time, I could see her efforts reflected in her actions. One evening, after a particularly illuminating therapy session, we found ourselves sitting on the couch at home, a newfound sense of comfort in the air. We had started to rekindle the intimacy that had been lost during the dark times. Sarah looked over at me, her eyes glistening with sincerity. "I know I've made mistakes and I'll carry that guilt with me forever, but I want you to know that I'm committed to making this work. I want to be the partner you deserve." Her words, spoken with conviction and vulnerability, struck a chord deep within me. I felt the warmth of hope blossom in my chest, but I also realized I had to remain steadfast. "I want that too, Sarah, but we both need to be patient with ourselves and each other. This is going to take time." "I understand," she said, reaching for my hand. "I'm in this for the long haul. I want to rebuild what we had brick by brick. I promise I won't let you down again." As the weeks turned into months, we began to rebuild our relationship piece by piece. We focused on open communication, setting boundaries, and spending quality time together. I found myself rediscovering the joy of our shared passions, hiking, cooking together, and even the little moments of banter that had once made our relationship so lively. Yet the shadow of the past still lingered. There were nights when I'd wake up in a cold sweat, images of her with him flashing in my mind. It was a painful reminder of what I'd been through, but I reminded myself that healing wasn't linear. Some days were good, and some days were hard. But the important thing was that we were both committed to the journey. I also focused on nurturing my own interests outside of our relationship. I picked up painting again, something I had neglected for too long, and I began to explore new hobbies. I spent time with friends, reconnecting with the life I had almost lost in the depths of despair. This journey wasn't just about saving my marriage. It was about rediscovering who I was as an individual. Then came the unexpected day that shifted everything for the better. Sarah planned a surprise weekend trip to the mountains, an escape to reconnect with each other and nature. As we hiked a picturesque trail, the stunning views and fresh air enveloped us. It was in that moment, surrounded by the beauty of the mountains, that I felt a sense of tranquility wash over me. At the summit, we sat down to take in the view, and I could feel the weight of the past beginning to lift. "Look how far we've come," Sarah said, her voice filled with awe as she gestured to the landscape before us. "I never imagined we could find our way back to each other like this." I nodded, sharing her sentiment. "It hasn't been easy, but I'm grateful we're here. I think we're stronger now because of it." With the sun setting behind us, casting a warm, golden light, I turned to Sarah. "I know I still have my doubts at times, but I want to believe in us. I want to keep moving forward together." Her eyes glistened as she responded, "We'll take it one step at a time. I won't rush or pressure you. I just want to show you that I'm committed to making this work with you." And in that moment, I felt a rush of gratitude. I realized that while the road ahead would always have its challenges, we were no longer the same people we had been before the affair. We had learned from our mistakes, and we were willing to fight for each other. As we descended the mountain, I couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought us to this point. I had faced betrayal, heartbreak, and uncertainty, but I also found strength, resilience, and the realization that love could be rebuilt. It was messy, complicated, and sometimes painful, but it was also rewarding in ways I had never anticipated. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, I felt a renewed sense of hope. We were charting a new course together, one that would allow us to grow individually and as a couple. It would be easy, but I was ready to embrace whatever came next, knowing that we had the foundation to face it together. In the end, I learned that love isn't just about perfect moments. It's about navigating the imperfect ones and choosing to stand by each other, even when the road gets tough. It was a lesson I'd carry with me for the rest of my life.